We're tired, we're confused, and we're full of food we shouldn't have eaten, which probably means E3 is over. But is it over? Because we're fairly certain it is, but we wouldn't put it past Sony or any number of publishers to announce a surprise E3 after-party stream, because actually going to the event itself is so 2018. Well, since it's officially not E3 anymore, it's time to finally relax and digest the big news from the major conferences, like the Division 2 DLC and Dragon Quest Builders 2. That looked nice, but Keanu Reeves showed up. That was a big deal. And there was Ikumi Nakamura and John Bernthal's dog, Bam Bam, all solid contenders for who won E3 2019. The fact that E3 was more memorable for the people and one person's pet, despite hosting a vast amount of games, says a lot for the state of the biggest gaming industry event. It's not that the games shown off didn't look good. We're certain many of them were released to critical and commercial success, but there were very few, if any, real blockbuster moments. Maybe we're getting old and cynical, maybe we're just feeling especially grumpy, but whatever the reason, all hope is not lost, as there were still moments worth talking about, if just a bit spread out. I'd say maybe there's 10 of these moments, give or take. Let's look at some. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are the 10 most important announcements of E3 2019. Number 10. Fallout 76 will finally have NPCs. What a difference a year makes. Bethesda's stock had never been higher before they showed off Fallout 76 at last year's E3, but after a nightmarish 12 months, a bug-riddled launch, and numerous broken promises, Todd Howard and pals were on the extreme apology offensive. Not that they actually said sorry as such, but the well-deserved criticism was at least acknowledged briefly. So, how did Bethany Esda plan to repair fans' trust? By turning Fallout 76 into an actual Fallout game. Revolutionary! In fairness though, this looked a little more substantial than your average patch notes. The Wastelanders DLC was announced as part of a free autumn update, which will bring back human NPCs and hopefully a bit more life to the wasteland, both in AI and player form. And with this comes full dialogue trees, a new main quest, and something called Choice and Consequences. Presumably more in depth than the choice to shoot a stranger or don't shoot a stranger. The trailer voiceover rather fittingly stated that they didn't expect people to come back, but with more work like this, West Virginia could see a population spike. Number 9. Elden Ring. Of all the trailers, teasers, and first looks, it was this very short reveal that caught our eye more than most. Why, exactly? Well, it's the heavily rumoured collaboration between From Software and George R.R.R. Martin for a start. And maybe because we're just ever so slightly biased towards the Soulsborne series. Yeah, new Halo, Gears of War, and Zelda teasers are nice, but nothing does it for us like punishing difficulty and obtuse lore. The trailer for Elden Ring didn't tell us much. There wasn't even a tentative release date, but what we did see played out like a best hits of From Software's back catalogue. A mysterious figure is prominent, looking a little like the Maiden in Black from Demon's Souls, but imbued with the blacksmithing skills of Dark Souls' Andrea Vestora. The oversized swords, armor, and monsters look very Dark Souls, and the creepy limb party shot wouldn't be out of place in Bloodborne. Then we've got the Sekiro-style prosthetic limb that could be filled with any number of Inspector Gadget tricks and toys. Thrones fans won't be happy at George R.R.R. finding another distraction from finishing the damn books! But at least this side project has promise. Number 8. Project Orion's streamlined streaming. Bethesda's conference mostly consisted of the Fallout 76 We're Sorry update and extended features for the impressive Doom Eternal. But it was a low-key segment highlighting something called Project Orion that could quietly become one of the more important developments for the industry. Google Stadia, the previously announced streaming-only platform, has got the big boys in the playground casting nervous sideways glances their way and even considering temporary alliances. Streaming is undoubtedly the future, but Google may have appeared way too early to the party. Project Orion, however, could change all of that if their claims are to be believed. After an early flex of their past achievements, Bethesda and id Software unveiled a suite of technologies that optimize game engines for performance in a cloud environment. In non-press release parlance, this means up to 40% reduction in latency and less bandwidth required to stream, which means faster gameplay and less lag. Hooray! For the skeptics, a live demo was shown using a fantastic controller phone attachment playing 2016's Doom with no noticeable lag. It's not the most exciting news, but if Project Orion delivers, Bethesda may just have an ace up their sleeve for the upcoming cloud streaming movement. Number 7. Marvel's Avengers. Endgame? Puh. Boring. Old news. What about the game? You know, the one mentioned very briefly in 2017 and then never talked about since. Well, we've finally got an update after a 2-year wait, and following the latest cinematic sensation, this might be just the fix MCU fans were hankering for, except it follows an entirely separate story from the movies, without the familiar actors in tow. Sadly, this made everything look a little budget, even with it obvious that a great deal of work has been put in and it has some excellent voice talent on display. Troy Baker, Nolan North, Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, and Jeff Shine. Not a bad guest list. Our copyright-friendly heroes, including Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, Black Widow, and Thor, appear in a story trailer that started nicely, but inevitably got a bit explodey. No gameplay reveal means we're still unsure as to what it is, but developer Crystal Dynamics have promised 4-player online co-op and plenty of new characters and maps after release. That's May 2020, by the way. It's been touted as, and cover your ears, children, a live service. Ugh. But despite that dirty term, they've promised us no loot boxes or pay to win, so it might be okay? Time will tell. Number 6. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Speaking of waiting years, Square Enix finally dropped some gameplay for their highly anticipated Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it looks so shiny and new! Beginning their conference with a quaint little start menu option, Square resisted the urge to just select new game and fill the next couple of hours with an extended Let's Play. Oh god, can you imagine? That would have been amazing. Instead, we were treated to a look at Midgar in extreme detail, right down to the train sparks and the materia in Cloud's big weapon. A large portion of Squeenix's show was given to this flagship title, and surprisingly, we even saw plenty of running gameplay too. An extended boss fight with the Scorpion Sentinel demonstrated the choice between real-time, action-heavy combat or pausing the game for a more traditional, almost turn-based feel. According to early playtests, characters don't just look flashier, but feel much more fleshed out, with considerably more dialogue and exchanges between even minor characters. The sheer amount of work on show makes other mere remakes look a little bashful in contrast. We're just sad that this is only episode 1, and we probably won't see the end for many, many years. Number 5. Animal Crossing and other Nintendos. A cursory glance at the interwebs will tell you that Nintendo have won E3. Granted, this could be any year, knowing the militant fanbase and their undying loyalty, but in a sea of middling performances, they might have a point. While not the most awe-inspiring presentation in its own right, Nintendo had more quite good moments than most. The big headline grabber was undoubtedly the sequel to Zelda Breath of the Wild being in development, but it was little more than a reassurance that they were on the case. New Smash characters were announced, including the roller coaster of emotions that was the Banjo-Kazooie reveal. We saw more of Pokemon Sword and Shield, but that was announced the previous week, so it doesn't count. So it's probably the new Animal Crossing that wins out, an island-themed new take on the chilled-out debt repayment simulator. This time you're setting up tents, crafting flimsy axes? Okay, and having a nice sit down on tree stumps. It's all very pleasant, really, with the most daring activity being a risky pole vault across a river. Whoa, steady! Oh, you're fine. But with the release date pushed back to March 2020, we're expecting some very angry Trustpilot reviews for Tom Nook Airlines. Number 4. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. EA were clearly banking on their huge new single-player Star Wars title, set for a 15th of November release date, by the way, to carry them through their pre-E3 party, and to an extent, they were right. But watching the lengthy playthrough of one mission showed us an ambitious cocktail of varying influences and resulted in mixed impressions. Naturally, this being the work of Titanfall developer Respawn, a wall run was present with the movement reminiscent of Uncharted or Assassin's Creed. The combat sequences came across like a less involved Sekiro, however, with lock-ons, dodges and a guard break mechanic, but calling it thoughtful combat felt like a bit of a stretch. Likewise, powers were a little bit Force Unleashed, just without the fun. A mere push, pull, and freeze didn't exactly get our midichlorians tingling. The story has been confirmed as canonical in the Star Wars universe, though, as Saw Gerrera from Rogue One pops up at a couple of points, so there is hope for an epic narrative adventure yet. With Respawn's recent pedigree on Titanfall 2 and the popular Clone Wars series influencing the writers, an excellent story could patch over any potential gameplay cracks. We hope so, for the sake of Peter's sanity. He just wants one. Just one good one. Just one good Star Wars game, please, EA. Please. Number 3. Watch Dogs Legion. Ubisoft's conference was the usual melting pot of the mad and the mundane. Just Dance flailed about on stage, still convinced that people care about the franchise, and 327 new Tom Clancy games were announced in varying shades of brown and grey. But they opened with a reveal of Watch Dogs Legion, an exciting new entry set in a high-surveillance London to the surprise of nobody, because all these details had already been leaked. The idea of setting everything in a post-Brexit Britain seems a risky move, touching on what is still a very divisive subject, but aside from this, the demonstration looked impressive. Yes, we know we've been burned before with Watch Dogs teasers and trailers, but look, you can play as a sweet old lady who's also a retired assassin. You can also play as almost anyone. In fact, demonstrated in a rare instance for a live demo where the character is intended to fail and die. It'll be okay. Plenty more questionable Cockney accents where that came from. The potentially endless recruitment system adds an interesting dynamic to a series that has so far struggled to produce a real classic, but it'll be different this time, right? Number 2. Microsoft's Project Scarlett. All the talk about game streaming platforms this year has been an interesting glimpse into the future, but it's left us yearning for the simpler days of good old-fashioned console announcements. Lucky for us then that Microsoft appealed to fans of the traditional video game box by officially announcing their next-gen Xbox, Project Scarlett. Did we see it in action? Don't be ridiculous! Just be happy with this vaguely corporate talking heads presentation, a glorified tech spec list, and some wires and motherboards and chips and stuff. Project Scarlett will support ray tracing, 8K resolutions, frame rates up to 120 FPS, and an SSD for faster loading times, all of which makes a console 4 times as powerful as the Xbox One X. It's bigger, it's badder, it eats monsters for breakfast, apparently, and it's coming holiday season 2020. A new console announcement will always turn heads, but it's a shame there was so little to show, with this announcement potentially rushed in the wake of recent, though equally scarce, details on the PlayStation 5. They also confirmed Halo Infinite as a launch title and gave us another trailer showing the return of Master Chief with classic armor and maybe even a reunion with Cortana too.
I chose you because you were special.
Aw, lovely. Number 1. Keanu Reeves and Cyberpunk 2077. Microsoft's conference was packed with trailers, but it was one man who stole the spotlight more than any mere game, even one as hotly anticipated as CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. For all the reveals that leaked this year, we managed to experience a legitimate shock with that final trailer shot before a stars in your eyes unveiling of everyone's favourite dude, Keanu Reeves. He really can't do anything wrong, can he? The genuine enthusiasm and almost shock at the rapturous applause was a far cry from so many stilted celebrity appearances of past E3s, and at this point, he could have introduced Rubbish Collection Simulator 2020 and everyone would go nuts. As it happened, Cyberpunk 2077 looked just as breathtaking as Mr. Wig himself, with a story trailer that gave us another glimpse into this gritty neon metropolis. Arm blades, face augmentations, and self-driving cars Uber could only dream of were all on show, and although we only got a few glimpses of gameplay, a release date of the 16th of April 2020 has made this once impossibly good-looking concept a very real prospect. Any chance for a Bill and Ted style time-traveling DLC, Keanu? Keanu? No? Yeah, maybe. Oh, he'll get back to us, I'm sure. And that's E3 2019, a show that will go down in history as an E3 that definitely took place in 2019. But despite the largely mediocre showing, there were at least a few exciting announcements, and next year looks set for plenty of exciting reveals. Hard to top actual John Wick, though. Let us know what you thought of this year's show and anything you're excited to see in the comments below. You can follow myself and TripleJump on Twitter here, and while you're at it, why not support the things you enjoy by having a look at our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.